On today's show, this is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Everybody, we're back. This is a special deep dive episode into a iconic Japanese rock band, One OK Rock. I know, Kelly, our listeners and viewers are very excited for this episode. I know so many of you out there love One OK Rock's music. I admit I'm new. I'm just learning about their music. They have a career that spans 20 years, which is incredible in terms of their discography. So we always like to start with an overview for people who maybe aren't as familiar with One OK Rock. Again, we're going to keep it high level, right, Kelly? Because there's so much you could talk about with 20-year career. So why don't you kick us off with just an overview of the band?
Right, so let's talk about One OK Rock, who are one of my favourite, not my favourite, but one of my favourite Japanese bands. And they've nearly been going with 21 years this year. They formed in 2005, and it's when guitarist Toru Yamashita and his friends, while in high school, and they decided that they were going to create a band. And this was following on from them being hip hop dancers. So Toro and Ryota originally started out as hip hop dancers when they were younger. And during their recent tour with Pale Dusk, Toro took to rapping again, which is quite an interesting thought. I wish I'd seen that, to be honest, because I love Pale Dusk, so it would have been two of my favourite bands together. Now, the hilarious thing about this is Taro decided that Reuter would end up being the bass player, whether he wanted to or not. He had no musical experience at all and insisted that he played the bass. So he had to go out and basically learn how to do the bass. I must admit, I have done this before myself. It's just like, no, I need you. You've got to do this. And then they were joined by a guy called Alex Onizawa. He played lead guitar for the band. And then there was Yu Koyagana, and he joined as the original drummer. Now, Tomoya Kanaki replaced Yu on the drums in 2006 after Yu left to pursue an actual acting career. And then Alex left in 2009. So instead of actually finding a replacement, Toro just decided he was going to take over lead guitar duties himself. Mm. Now, the really interesting thing is the band's name. You couldn't write this, to be perfectly honest. You couldn't write where it came from. I could never quite understand the whole sort of background of how you came up with a name like One OK Rock. And I was a bit like, it's just a strange name.
Yeah, it is an odd name. You're right.
The background of it's even stranger. And all I can say is these guys have got a sense of humour for this one. The band's name is a play on the phrase 1 o'clock, as they used to rehearse at 1 a.m. in the morning to save on money. I mean, I can't say anything.
Oh!
A few of us have done it. But they were basically taking the piss out of themselves. So instead of it being 1 o'clock, they went down the One OK Rock, and that's how they stylized it. And then we get the introduction to Taka. Now, Taka, the lead singer, slightly different story to the rest of the guys. Now, he began his career as an idol singer at the age of 13. In 2001. And he went to a talent agency in Japan called Johnny's Entertainment, and he made his idol debut in a boy band called News, and that was in 2003. But he left very quickly afterwards, after a few months. I think he obviously thought better of this and decided that he was going to focus on his studies, which is understandable. As a 14-year-old, it seemed like the best thing to do. And then, of course, did the typical musician thing and then dropped out of high school to pursue music. Says everything, doesn't it? So
it does.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say anything more about that. Now, the interesting thing to know about Taka is he comes from, I think the best way of describing this, musical royalty in Japan, I think is probably the best way of describing it. So his mum and dad are enka singers. It's in his blood. So his parents, Shinichi Moro and Masako Moro, and they are literally known country-wise as being two of the best singers in the world. And this is something he really had to fight against. So there's a lot of background story into how he came to prominence as the singer that he is today. But you can understand where that voice comes from. This is in the blood. So, to get back onto the story of One OK Rock, he was working in a coffee shop while performing in a cover band called the Chivalry of Music, which is, yeah, another great name. We won't get into that one. And as if by magic, Toro attended one of these cover band shows. And he was so impressed by Taka's tone. So Taka has got this unbelievable range, unbelievable power, and he's got that bit of rasp to it. And I mean, anybody in the right mind would have gone, we need him in the band. And this is exactly what Toro did. And of course, as per all rock band stories, and I'm now starting to realise this, he was pursued by a guitarist. I think the polite, probable way of describing this is possibly stalked, because Toro used to turn up continuously to ask him to be in the band. And it took a year for him to basically go, do you know what? No, I don't want to do it. And then after a year, he went, okay, I'll come to rehearsals and just see what this is about. And then that was it.
I feel like that's similar.
The rest is history, as they
I feel
say.
like it's so similar to the Roses story, right? With Dojun having to hound Sammy over and over and over again to try to get him to agree. And it must have just been magic, maybe, for Taka.
I've been there myself. I don't know what it is. It's just something that happens to us singers. And then, of course, one of the things to bear in mind, as I said, that there is such a story with Taka and everything that's behind it. So if we ever get a chance to look at more songs, I really want to have a look at songs like Nobody's Home. And that's a very important song because it's actually about when Taka fell out with his father and he ran away from home. And so that is such a pivotal story. It's so emotional. And also This Can't Be Us, which will kill you. That song is about his grandma and literally has the sweetest video I have ever seen. It's so beautiful, but it will break your heart in the nicest possible way. But yeah, so that is One OK Rock. I have butchered everything in Japanese that I possibly can. So there we go.
It seems like Taka, from kind of the research, at least particularly in the two songs we're going to cover today, Tropical Therapy and Wherever You Are, it seems like he's a main lyric writer.
Yes.
And it feels like even with Nobody's Home and This Can't Be Us that you just kind of highlighted in the overview, he's one of those songwriters that I love, that really writes from that human experience, and creates a lot of emotion through the lyrics of the songs. I think Tropical Therapy and Wherever You Are definitely two examples of that. So let's start with Tropical Therapy. This has been one of, I think, their biggest hits off of their latest album, the Detox album that was released on February 21st of 2025. So when this episode's coming out, probably about a year from that time. The lyrics and music written by Taka, Pete Napi, Jin Jin, Derek Tyler Carter. So, in our research, this group of individuals is credited with lyric writing and composition contributions. Arrangement by Taka, Pete Noppy, Jinjin, and Derek Tyler Carter. Production done by Pete Noppy, Rob Cavallo, and then obviously performers performed by One OK Rock, which the band members include Taka, Toro, Ryoko, and Tomoya. So, Kelly, why don't you kick us off with, let's dig into the instrumentation and the melody analysis for Tropical Therapy.
So, Tropical Therapy is a straightforward rock song. I know I say this a lot, but it is a straightforward rock song, and that's why it delivers as well as it does. It's in a 4/4 time signature, and it's 160 beats per minute, so it is proper. It's gunning this one. It's in F major, and the guitar chords for it are E minor, D, B minor 7, C, G, and A minor. The pick pattern is interesting on this one. So when you're playing the guitar on it, it has a downward strum on the bridge and the chorus, which kind of gives it that power that's needed. And it gives it a more of a punky, emo-y edge to it. But you get this sort of up pick on every third stroke on the actual verse, which gives it more like a question and answer type of thing. It's quite a strange thing to actually, but your ears will pick up and resonate on it, and it's quite an unusual trick to do. And it is the epitome of their style. It's hard rock, it's got this edge of emo to it, but it's also got Taka's unbelievable delivered vocals. And all I can say about that is, oh my God, these vocals on this are beautiful and drenched in emotion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah. His vocals are incredible. Love the part in his vocals where he kind of gets staccato and he does that get away. I've talked about that in some of the other songs that we've done deep dives. I like it when an artist kind of adds that more like staccato into their vocal delivery. And I think what that does for me as the listener is I feel like it gives these vocals kind of an anthem type sound to them, where you as the listener want to naturally sing along to that part in it. And as the emotion kind of builds throughout this song, you're just there at the end, just really feeling it.
Yeah.
We'll get into the meaning of the lyrics, which obviously also lead into just the emotion that comes through in this song. But I just love that get away part.
Yeah, I mean, his vocal range is unreal. He is absolutely fantastic. He's one of the best singers out, and that's before we go to how long this man can hold a note for, because that is just scary. There's a vocal lift at the end of this, which is just majestic. There's no other way of describing it. It is majestic how he lifts this up, and that's very much the Enka vocal style, which he would have heard so much from his parents. That is one of the reasons he's the singer that he is, because he takes that traditional style, which is very emotive and it's power, and I suppose it's the definition of power ballads, really. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's the traditional version of it. But it's also about having this beautiful, expressive voice, which he does, but he's naturally got this husky tone to it, which is something that is in equal measure used in that form of singing. But he does, and this is what he does so brilliantly, he has that very distinctive way of pitch bending, and he does this pitch bending so much, and that's called kabushi. And the ability to do that is really, really good, and he does it so well. I mean, I can't talk highly enough of how good his vocals are on this, and just his ability to emote through words. And that's before you see the video, because I mean, if you sit and watch the music video for this, you'll be heartbroken, because it just pours out of all of them, but especially Taka. It is so omnipresent and just full of emotion. It's the most beautiful thing. It really, really is. And when we sat and decided what songs we were going to do, this was the first one. I went, no, we've got to do Tropical Therapy. I don't care what we do.
Yeah,
the Tropical Therapy is the one that we've got to do, because I love this song so much. And I mean, the Detox album is brilliant. Do not, I mean, I think it's probably one of the best things they've put out in a very, very, very long time. All the songs on there are so measured and fantastic, but this one, it just hits that right level of pop sheen to it as well. So I think it crosses over a lot
Yeah.
more than some of the other stuff might do. One of the interesting things about this one is, though, so obviously, as you know, you could who the contributors were to this and the production team. So you'd got Robert Cavallo. Now, you might understand where this sound comes from if I explain to you who Robert Cavallo has worked with. So he worked on My Chemical Romance's The Black Parade. Without shadow of a doubt, classed as one of the greatest rock albums ever produced in the last 50 years. I don't care who you are, everybody agrees it's one of the best. And then obviously Green Day, and he did Dookie, which is one of my favourite albums. It's got some of my favourite tracks of all time on there.
Classic.
And American Idiot, and that one will always grace the top 30 of nearly every single metal and rock album chart that you could ever expect. And of course, you know, just to mention as a side note, he also did Paramore Decode, because obviously that wasn't one of the greatest rock albums of the last 20 odd years either, was it? And then we have Pete Nappy. Now, the thing is to bear in mind with him, he's not going to be undersold by who Robert Cavallo's worked with. No, because he's worked with Youngblood, Shinedown, and Ilium. So, I mean, he's working with some of the heavy hitters that are coming up as well. And you can just tell there's just such sheen and power and strength in the production of this. It's such a great single. Then on top of that, we've got additional guitar work from Tim Pierce. Now, Tim Pierce is probably a name you don't know, but Tim Pierce has done guitar work for Goo Goo Dolls, Michael Jackson, Alice Cooper, to name three of a very, very, very long list of people that he's worked with. And then we have Meg. Now, Meg's slightly different. Meg is slightly cooler. And Meg has worked with Baby Metal, Lisa, Ado, and Hannah B. So if you're into any of your sort of new noise things coming out of Japan, Meg is the person that's behind a lot of that music-wise as well.
So were they more like session musicians then?
Yeah.
Just kind of playing on the track?
Yes. So they would have come
that's
in
interesting.
and they would have come in and helped support with just an idea or something that somebody had, or they might have just been in the studio at the time and just gone, oh, actually, how about this? It's a collaboration frequently that happens, and sometimes it depends as well where production's taking place, whether production's in America or whether production's in Japan, where everybody is. Because I mean, we know. Well, you might not be aware that, I mean, the band are quite international. Taka lives over in LA and they tend to move around a hell of a lot anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that might also be a reason that they were in and playing guitars on this as well.
I really I put in my notes kind of the start of the songs with this electric guitar. And then I think through the first verse, the melody feels simplistic. But then the full instrumentation kind of starts to come in at the chorus. You get the drums. I love the drums in this song. I put in my notes kind of around 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That drum combination is just incredible. And then I think it's like, to me, it's like at that part of the song, there's that emotion swell I talked about.
Yeah.
Kind of earlier, and it just builds to then ultimately the climax kind of part of the song driving through the end. And yeah, I mean, this was a great song in terms of my kind of like introduction into One OK Rock. I hadn't listened to them before the Detox album. And when the Detox album came out last year, 2025, I kind of started listening to them, to this song. So it was like kind of a great, introduction. You were laughing with me because you texted with me and you said, did you know that Taka had worked with Jin from BTS? And so I did know that fact. And that was actually the first time I learned about One OK Rock at all, was when Taka did that song with Jin on Jin's solo, album. So yeah, it's Tropical Therapy is an incredible song. Let's give a listen to a clip from their music video. And you talked about how their music video is just beautifully done.
It's insanely beautiful, this. It's so simple, but so beautiful.
To do that part of him hitting that note at the end. We were just talking about the power of this man's vocals. I mean,
He's
it just
unreal.
can't say it enough. Yeah, it's just really incredible. And that's that like anthem part too of that get away.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
just can't help but just like chant that along.
And there's also a really lovely bit about, I mean, you're on about the drums in this. You've got that really lovely use of syncopation in that. So it kicks in and it's got the groove of the bass line and you get that hit because of it, and which is so nice. Yeah, and everything on that it just builds so beautifully. So, I mean, it takes it from this very sort of steady, just rock song, and it just keeps building and building and building and bigger. And we get to that crescendo note, and it's the most magnificent thing. It really is. Yeah. And then he brings it back down again.
Yeah. I think, and then the other part of the song is just what he's talking about in the
Yeah.
lyrics. It's such an important message, I think, in just society today, or just particularly in music, battling mental health. So,
Yeah.
why don't you kind of start with your analysis on the lyrics, Kelly?
So the lyrics on this one are, I think people are, tropical therapy. I'm just going to go away on vacation. I'm going to go vacay.
Mm,
Yeah, no, this is very definitely, this is about battling mental health. This is about wanting to escape from whatever the reality is and replace it with just that escape, that mental escape, that therapy that you all
mm,
need and want. And this sometimes kind of feels, when you listen to it and sort of know their story, um, and how big they are. I mean, I don't think people realize just how big they are as an act. These guys sell out stadiums. They sell out stadiums in literally minutes.
mm,
I mean, we all sort of, it's like Taylor Swift sells out. So do these guys. This is how big they are. I mean, the fact that they actually supported Linkin Park last summer amazed me, because actually in Asia, they're bigger than Linkin Park. They are, but they were humble enough to go out. And I mean, they're friends with Linkin Park. And that was, to me, that was a fantastic tour pairing. And I thought that was just so good of them as well. And I think, though, with all of that fame, for want of a better term, I think this song is a call to escape the actual what was a dream of music, and then what the reality of it is, and its
mm,
associated stardom that goes with it. This is emotional release. This is about de escalation. This is how you turn your brain off, and this is where you want to go. And you can see it so definitively in the lyrics as he writes them. And it's written on quite a,
yeah.
you sort of look at it and it kind of feels like quite a high level. It's just kind of like, it's like a, it's just like a very easy level, a digestible level, I think. But actually there's very definite undertones of such depth in there as well. One of the things to bear with is Taka has freely admitted he struggles with anxiety and has struggled with loss in the past. And this is a look
Mm.
completely and utterly at its devastating effects, and what can happen to people when they go through
Mm.
these things.
Yeah, I think these lyrics are extremely powerful. I agree with you. Burnout from life, the need to escape. I personally relate to this song so much because I think I am a person that, and God, living in the crazy world we've been living in,
True.
I I admit, like, I cope through escapism big time. I mean, that is just how I cope with the ugliness of the world and the stress that the ugliness of the world puts on me personally. And music has been my main form of escapism over the years. And so I just really did relate to what he's talking about of his tropical therapy and that being his, escapism
Yeah.
from the stress and the burnout. I think what's interesting with his lyrics, again, this I've only dived into two songs of his, but so I'm not sure what his voice is as a lyric writer over his full body of work, but his lyrics are very, how do I say that? It's just kind of straightforward. Like, at least in this song in particular, he's not using metaphor um to describe what he's trying to convey through his lyrics. He's telling the listener very straightforwardly his message, right? I mean, he said his first verse, like, he starts, "Another day here in the system. My soul is on a plane. Take a shot of whiskey and some to de-escalate. I need to lighten all this baggage cuz life is heavyweight. I'm sick of rolling with the punches. I need to get away." Like, he hits you right at the start of this song with
Yeah.
exactly what he's going to be talking about, with burnout and the heaviness, that
Yeah.
he's dealing with. He's not trying to hide it in pretty imagery or metaphors. And I think I really appreciated that aspect of the way he wrote this song, of just not trying to sugarcoat that reality that we all have faced and we all have dealt with, that he's just coming at it in such a very straightforward way. What's kind of your take on that?
I think he's a great lyricist because he doesn't hold punches. He literally just, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm going to say. And whether that is him writing a love song, he doesn't need to hide it in pretty
Mm.
prose and a vernacular of words that kind of make you feel that way. He doesn't do any of that. He just says it. And actually, I really appreciate that. But I think that's
Mm.
done because there's also the fact as well that he knows he has a global audience, and they do have a global audience.
Mm.
They won awards for Rock Sound last year, and they came in as like the international band. It gives you an idea of who they are and what they do, and the fact that he can
Mm.
write so clearly and with such emphasis on true emotions, I think is more testament to him as well, because he just lays it out there. I don't want to say it's blunt because that kind of makes it sound that it's just like, I feel like crap. He has an ability to write songs that convey very clearly what he's thinking, very openly what he's thinking,
Mhm. Yeah.
without sort of, he doesn't need to use imagery to inflate it, shall we put it that way?
Mm. Yeah. 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 I think I just really, particularly at least with this song and what he's talking about with burnout and how you're dealing with your demons and how you can cope. I
Yeah.
just really appreciated that very straightforward delivery. I think he continues this in verse 2. He says, "My spirit is guiding me to a place where demons can't find me." That lyric,
Mm.
I think that lyric, like, it just hit me. Because I think again, back to just me personally and how I definitely use escapism to cope with ugliness in the world and stress. I think that's kind of why I do it, or how I view it, right? Where what I'm going to in terms of my escapism when I go into that place mentally. It is. I feel like I just love the way he described that. I think his lyric, "My spirit is guiding me to a place where demons can't find me." I think for me, as I mentioned, with music being, my escapism, I feel like that lyric like really grabbed me, Kelly, because
Mm.
I think for myself, that's how I feel about music, that my spirit guides me into this safe place where I can shut the ugliness of the world off. And where he says the demons can't find me, like
Yeah.
that ugliness isn't there. And even if it's for a few minutes in the sanctuary that music can bring me, it's like the world is beautiful and safe. And so I think this song, like lyrically, I mean melodically it's beautiful, as we talked about, his vocals incredible, the instrumentation incredible, but just his lyricism in this song really really got me. Like this song is emotional for me, and I'm sure for a lot of viewers and listeners,
Yeah.
um this song is just it really hits you.
One of my favourite lines is, "I see a new horizon, holding on to hope." That sucker
Mm.
punches me every time I hear him sing it.
Mm.
And music is
Yeah.
about release. And I think that is honestly why most musicians make music, to be honest. It's our therapy. But we've discussed this before. When does the
Mm.
therapy stop becoming therapy and you need therapy for the therapy? Which is an insane way of putting it.
Mm.
And sometimes you need to step away from it. And to me, this is his
Mm.
way of kind of stepping away from it in a way and explaining that. And I mean, when you bear
Mm.
in mind the legacy he grew up under, the shadow that he grew up under with his parents,
Mm.
with them being the stellar stars that they are, it must be
Mm.
hard. It even to go out and
Yeah.
find your own voice must be hard. But then to have found your
Right.
voice and then feel that level of burnout
Mm.
is even worse. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm thinking of an interview I watched through researching for this episode. And it's funny, he says to the man that's interviewing him that actually he enjoys in those interviews talking not about his music because that's his job, right?
Yeah.
And this is what he does day in and day out. But he just kind of enjoys talking about the things he's interested in, like his hobbies or his pastimes. And I just loved that, and I think to me that goes into kind of,
Yeah.
what you're saying, and it must be such a challenge for musicians, and I think through our candid conversations, you have dealt with this in your career as a musician. To be a musician, to me, you have to have such a love and a passion for music, but yet it then becomes your job, and then what that can do when that passion that you have for something becomes your job,
Yeah.
and that when you hit burnout in in that, I think I mentioned this in the Into the World episode when we talked about Slowly and what we felt like the Rose was saying in that song about burnout,
Yeah.
that it to me, it's so much more severe for someone as a musician hitting that, where that is you're getting burnt out by something that's your passion, but also your job. No, I've dealt with burnout in my career, but it wasn't necessarily my passion, and how
Yeah.
that's so different.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about music, even if you've got other aspects to your life that you deal with, dependent on what level that you're at. I mean, when you're at the level of people like Taka, I mean, it is your life. Every waking moment of your life is this. Whereas, you know, if you're a piddly musician like me, you've got other things to deal with. You've got other, you know, other contractual parts of life that you have to deal with just to exist on a daily basis. And I hate to say it, I would dare to say 95% of musicians do, to be perfectly honest. You know, even if you're a jobbing musician, you've still got half a dozen other jobs that you have to deal with and all sorts of other things. But yeah, you can see where that sort of depression kicks in, and you can see it very clearly. To be a musician, you have to wear your heart on your sleeve. I don't care whether you are a drummer or a singer or a saxophonist. Doesn't matter. To convey music properly, it's all about emotion. That's how you get it across. That's because that's what you want your audience to hear. Whether that is you're in a thrash band and you want people to be angry, so you've got to go out and shout. So you normally tend to find that guys that are in thrash bands are the softest men you would ever want to meet in your life, because they get all their anger out, screaming down a microphone and literally smashing cymbals.
Yeah.
You know, they generally are. They're just really, really soft, generally speaking. And then you'll get others that have got this machismo and they're pushing over this machismo and ego, and then you find actually away from that character that they're playing, that they tend to be quite sort of introverted and as far away removed as the character that they have up in front. But when you are pushing things which are emotive and you're hitting at emotions and you're talking about depression and things like that, you can become very quickly overborne with it. I think it's probably the best way of describing it, because you are reliving what you went through, and you can see it. There are horror stories of this. Kurt Cobain was a horror story of this. The man wrote pure emotions. That's what he thrived on, and that's why he's no longer with us. So it's finding that balance in that area.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of what tropical therapy is. It's sort of like it's knowing that this is, by creating this music, it is your therapy. But every now and again, you've got to get away from it. You need that disassociation.
Yeah.
You need that ability to escape.
Yeah.
I love this song so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, One OK Rock and Taka, for an incredible song off of an incredible album. As you said, the Detox album was my first venture, honestly, into their music. And so what a great way to start, because it is such an incredible album. Let's transition to our second song, Wherever You Are, which, Kelly, is a different kind of song, but still powerful, I think. These are two very powerful songs, but in a very different way. So why don't you start with the breakdown, songwriting, and so forth?
Very, very different way, this song. So this is Wherever You Are. And this is off of the Niche Syndrome album that was actually right at the very beginning of their career. So this was released on the 9th of June in 2010. Composition and writing, lyricist and composer was Taka. Straightforward, simple as that. That's who it was. The arrangement was by One OK Rock and Koichi Kuranaga, who contributed to the arrangement. One OK Rock produced it, and the recording engineers for this were Hideki Kariya and Kensuke Miura, and they were the recording engineers on this. And then we've got the mixing and mastering engineering team of Satoshi Hoishi, I think is the correct pronunciation of that, who mixed the song, and Ian Cooper, which is a lot easier to pronounce, and he mastered the final track. So obviously it's just the band, and it's just, I can cope with the pronunciation of that one. And of course it is the normal lineup of One OK Rock performing on this. I love this song so much. So if I very quickly run through the melody analysis of this one. So it's in E major and it's 174 beats per minute and it's in 4/4. And it is, the chord structure is E, B, C sharp minor and C sharp minor. Yes, I had to think about whether it was minor or major. A and B. The soft vocals in this are luscious. They're so lush. I love the vocals in this. I like to say this is the start of his career is unreal. That you come straight out and this is, you hit the ground running and this is one of your songs. There's a reason the streams on this are as high as it is. This is a beloved, beloved song, and it is exceptionally well known in Japan because of it. The vocals in this just build and build and build, and it's not by section. This is the beautiful thing about it, because what you tend to find with a lot of singers, you come in nice and quiet and intimate to start off with, and then you build a little bit when you get into the chorus, and then you build a bit more when you get into the verse, and then you build a bit more and you build a bit more and you build a bit more, and then you just end up really, really loud. Taka doesn't do this on this. He takes this really beautiful sort of sine wave. So what he does is he sort of very slowly creeps and he builds it in, and then it just dissipates, and it builds again and it dissipates. But all the time, this sine wave of sound just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the fact that he has this ability to go from these really intimate, breathy vocals to like high resonance, and then the man just belts it out the park at the end, and you're just like, where the bloody hell did that come from?
I know.
He is a masterclass in vocals. I mean, if anybody ever wants to sing, watch him sing. Watch how he does it. Watch how he holds his body when he sings. Watch how he uses a microphone. Watch just his entire stage presence. I mean, literally, he is a tour de force, and I don't say that lightly. He is up there with some of the best when it comes to vocal control. He is unbelievable. So then go back to the music. So you've got this clean picked guitar, and then on the verses, and then you get this overdrive that kicks in as we get into the solo. And I mean, that's a traditional thing, that you hit an overdrive button and it gets, so you get that wall of sound. But it's also kept there for the final chorus and the outros. So not only have you got this sort of funnelized build of the vocals, you've also got it with the guitar as well. So they support each other, and because they're in similar sort of sonic areas, it just lifts the song so much and it gives it so much power. And again, we're back to Enka singers. It's this whole thing of power. This is the definition of a power ballad. I know we're not in the 80s, but this would have fit very easily in the 80s as this. Now the drums. The drums in this are beautiful because it's a very basic ballad groove, and you just sort of sat there going, it's very easy and it's laid back and it's kind of what you expect. And then the second verse kicks in and it's like, okay, we're building a little bit more here. And then it just lets rip. I mean, literally, it comes in full force. It comes in full force, and it's just like, all of a sudden, it's like, where did that come? The only thing it reminds me, in a way, with the way that it hits, it's got that thing of Phil Collins of In the Air Tonight. You know, when you got the doom, doom, doom. It's got that,
where it just like hits you
out of nowhere, and you're just like, where the hell did that come from? But I think that's so beautiful, and it allows, I think it conveys what's being said so well because the music backs it up as well, which, simple song.
I think
well done.
I put very simplistic acoustic guitar, melody is very simple, not much to me with my ear to the instrumentation at the beginning, but the melody is very beautiful. And I think his delivery, as you said at the beginning, it's like his delivery on his vocals, I put just very emotional. I like how you kind of describe them, very breathy, light. And then, as you're saying, like the push of the melody really starts to hit at about
Yeah,
like 2 minutes, 15 seconds. And again,
yeah,
it's just that drive through kind of the end of the song. And I really like, as you're saying, the melody switches up in that bridge. And
yes.
now his vocals become these power vocals. And just like you said, it just kind of smacks you in the face. And you're like,
It's like,
where did this come from in this song? And
yeah, you
yeah,
don't
it's like
expect
bam. Like,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
You don't expect it. It literally,
Yeah.
you just think it's going to be this nice sort of just like gentle, so like going down the stream. It's like, oh God, here's a waterfall,
Yeah.
and it just comes out of nowhere. And
Like, here we go.
yeah, honestly, the man is brilliant.
God.
I cannot sing his praises loud enough.
So saying that, why don't we go to a clip?
Whatever you say, kimi wo omou kimochi. I promise you forever right now. Oh yeah.
Oh, that like reverb and kind of his voice there.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that part when he
Yeah,
does
it
that in his
is
vocals.
honestly. It's so beautiful. So that and this is a recent thing because they've always played it as a band, but on the like last tour as such, what they've started doing is Taka and Toro have basically started doing it as a acoustic performance, so the other guys can just have a very quick break while they're still in center stage. But it's become the highlight of the show. This is the moment where literally everybody's, I was going to say with the fighters out, everybody's out with their with their actual foam lights going, and it just becomes the most beautiful thing. If you get a chance, watch that full video. It is on One OK Rock's actual YouTube. There's and it's mind blowing to just see the sheer sort of. It looks like a mass constellation of stars as he's singing this beautiful song. And it's breathtaking to watch. And I mean, honestly,
we'll have that linked in our episode description, so you definitely have to give that a watch. So let's go into the lyric analysis. I feel like this song to me is like a poem. I feel like the lyrics read like a poem you would write to a person that's like the love of your life.
Now, do you know where this is from? Do you want a tidbit of information as to why this is one of the most iconic ballads of all time? This was actually written by Taka when he was 17 years old for a friend's wedding. It was his gift.
When he was 17?
He wrote this when he was 17.
I think about like, what do you know about love at 17?
That guy knew more than most. Yeah, 17.
Taka, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is a song about devotion and love and commitment. And there is a reason that it's played at nearly every single Japanese wedding out there.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically Asia's version of Bryan Adams' Everything I Do It For You. It's basically what it is.
Right. That's a good.
That's really good. It is exactly that. Apart from This Is Better. And it's scary to think that he wrote this when he was 17. That my mind just boggles. I know what I was writing at 17 and it wasn't as good as this.
I mean, this is the perfect wedding song.
No,
any viewers and listeners, if you're getting married or you're gonna be getting married in the future, put this one down as a potential wedding song because this is perfect. I have so many like my favorite lyrics. Like I feel like I should just say this entire song. It's like my favorite lyrics.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Go for it.
And this is obviously the name of the song, but I just love the line, "Wherever you are, I'll always make you smile." And I feel like to me that encompasses what everybody's ideal is when you found that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, is that hopefully you're hoping that everything you'll try to do for that person going forward or with that person is all in the vein of making them smile.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like that, you know, wanting to make them happy or wanting to cheer them up or wanting to be the sunshine on their cloudy day or what have you. And I think that again, his writing is very straightforward, simplistic, but so beautiful.
Yes.
So I love that lyric.
Honestly, it's gorgeous. All the lyrics just make me smile on this because it is so sweet and it's just.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, being the goth, it's just like the whole sort of idea of sort of like staying by somebody until the end of time, is so beautiful, and yeah, and it's. But again, the fact that it's not flowery language and it is straightforward,
Mm.
I think is again something beautiful because a lot of the time musicians and especially lyricists tend to hide behind words and metaphors and flowery things because they don't really know what to say. Whereas
Mm.
actually somebody just sort of saying, I want to be with you to the end of time and make you smile is actually what you just want to hear,
Yeah.
really, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. But I think too, what I appreciate with this song where I'll always make you smile wherever you are is, as I mentioned, I think an idealistic view,
Mhm.
right? Like, um, I also appreciate, and it's crazy you say he was 17 when he wrote this, but I think there's other parts of the lyrics where I think he, to me, is acknowledging that marriage is a journey that might
Mhm.
not always be perfect.
Yeah.
And what he's saying in this song is he's committing to that journey with that person. So he
Yeah.
says, day after day, we still have a long journey ahead. Please always, always until death stay with me. We carry on. So I respect that he's also coming in with acknowledging that things aren't always going to be perfect as
Yeah.
he probably feels today, right? When you get married, you're in that perfect stage, everything's wonderful and you're looking at your future through rose colored glasses. But I think in that set of lyrics, to me, he's acknowledging the reality of hard times in their journey, but he's still committed to go
Yeah.
on that journey with this other person.
Exactly. This is before, sort of having 3 months laying in bed with somebody, the grinding the teeth and you've not slept and
Mm.
all of those wonderful types of things that go along with marriage and living with people. And yeah, but it's so beautiful and I mean, these are commitment vows, aren't they? That is literally what it is. I mean, it is
Mm.
vows to music, and they are probably more beautiful than you would hear most people actually confess the vows as they're getting married anyway. So, yeah, I think it's gorgeous. And to have written it at 17,
Now, this is a song that is part in English, part in Japanese, and Kelly has translated for us the Japanese part. So we'll have that available on our website. We'll also be pushing out the full English translations to everybody. Do you know, since you're more familiar with his discography and One OK Rock's discography, is it mostly a combination English, Japanese, English, Japanese? Do you know his tendency in his songwriting?
when they initially started out, it primarily was more like this. So you'd have mainly English
Mm.
with a little bit of Japanese if he was going to sort of use a traditional Japanese phrasing or something like that. But actually,
Mm.
as the catalogue's gone further out, it's all pretty much English. There's it's only really if he's trying to get across a concept that Japanese drops in there. There are sometimes songs that are
Mm.
completely in Japanese, but it's very rare. It does tend to be more for an international market.
I just have, as we've been, exploring more of these Korean and Asian artists. Just to me, I find it fascinating seeing how these songwriters are choosing to express themselves in what particular language and different reasons
Mm.
every artist has for that. I feel like for me, I think the combination eh, of when he goes into Japanese to my ear. I don't know Japanese, you know Japanese, but I don't. So for me hearing it, it's so beautiful. And I think even though I didn't understand what he was saying till I see your English translations and those portions of his lyrics, sonically, I think it sounds so lovely of how
Yeah,
he goes kind of back and forth
I
between the two languages.
I really love to hear the Japanese language sung. There is something very romantic about the Japanese language. The words have more of a they unlike Korean, which is very it's quite staccato in a way.
Mm,
So I can kind of understand
mhm,
why a lot of Korean singers would opt to sing in English because it's got more of a flow to it.
mm.
Whereas Japanese does have
Yeah.
more of a lilt and a flow to it. Don't get me wrong, there are some weird ass phrases in Japanese, and there's a reason I can't speak fluently, and that is because I cannot get my head around some of the concepts whatsoever at all. Whereas it just has this beautiful flow to it. And I think that's one of the reasons I've kind of always liked a lot of Japanese bands because some of the ones we'll get
Mm,
into later tend to sing all in Japanese. Like Daring Great, a lot of their stuff
mm.
is Japanese. They do fall into English as well as they go along, but it tends to be. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about getting out of your borders. And a lot of that, I hate to say it
Mm.
is, English is an international language. But then again, saying that
Right,
your English is very different from my English. Even though my English is English
right,
English,
right.
I've still
Yeah.
not worked that one out. But your English is English English. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's
Leave
so
it that.
interesting though.
Yeah, it is. Um, but saying that, I mean, I've written songs in French, so
Mm. Oh,
it's
that's
it's
so cool.
it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I think sometimes you want to emote something, and it's actually easier to emote it
Mm.
in a different language. And I know when I was writing that
Yeah.
particular song, I found that actually for me to emote it in French was easier than in English. So that's
That's so
probably
fascinating to me.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is one of those things that you tend to find that people do. But yeah, generally speaking, most of their catalogue, I'd say the mass majority of it is in English.
Yeah, well, this is like we said kind of at the top of this segment, it's a very different type of song from Tropical Therapy, obviously written much earlier in their
Yes.
career, but I think both come across in a powerful way, just kind of a different type of power to them. So these were
Yeah.
two great first songs, I think, in our first exploration of
Yeah.
One OK Rock. I'm sure Kelly in future seasons, we're going to keep coming back to this iconic Japanese rock band. So why don't we wrap up today? We're going to switch it up a little bit than we usually do. I usually put you in the hot seat in our humor segment. But now today, you are going to give me a taste of my own medicine. And I do admit I am very scared.
How would you like me to approach this? For I have in front of me a selection of questions. Are we
Oh,
feeling very
geez.
brave? Are we feeling very truthful?
You know,
Or
oh goodness.
oh, or
Oh gosh, I'm so scared.
or would you like something slightly funny?
Oh, let's go funny.
Oh, of
Okay,
course you're going
let's
to
go
go funny.
funny.
Damn you! Damn you! Damn you! Damn you! Okay, so
You save the other ones for another time.
oh yes, don't worry, I am doing. So it is, and I've got to try and remember what year it is. It is 1912. And you are aboard
Ooh.
the Titanic. It is a very, very
Ooh.
cold night, and you're on the deck, and the band is playing in the background. And the iceberg hits. Obviously, everybody
Okay.
carries on dancing. And then, of course, Molly Brown, me, walks out and tells people that shit has hit the fan. And we really, really, really ought to get on the lifeboats, regardless of what everybody else is saying, because we are all going to die. Now, we know for a fact that
I feel
Andy
like
and Anne
this
is
has really happened in our lives.
Anne is stood somewhere at the back with a triangle near the band. Anne has already got her life jacket on. I've got my life jacket on. I'm on a boat. I'm on the way to the Mauritania. Goodbye. And then Anne suddenly realises something. She can only save one member of the band, for she only has one extra life jacket. Which member of the Rose would you save with your spare life jacket, and which three will be playing on as the Titanic sinks to the depths?
Oh my god! I have
You don't want to
okay,
play D&D
stop.
with me.
I thought no. I do not believe I can't save all four of them. Like,
No.
it's like in that movie, The Titanic, bullshit that Rose couldn't have put Jack on that door that she's floating on. He did not have to freeze in the freezing water in the Atlantic. I think all four of them can use that life jacket. They can all like cling to it. I will.
I've never actually seen a life jacket. May I just point this out?
I think I'm gonna huddle on a life jacket with one of them. I'll share mine with one.
Life jacket.
No, I'll share my life jacket with one.
No, you can't
and
share.
Then two of them can huddle on the other.
So if you share your life jacket with one, and then two others can share, so that still means that there is one member that is on deck playing the violin to the very end. So it doesn't matter how you do this, right, you're either losing three or you're losing one.
Oh God! Okay, you're right. I didn't do the math
tables
right.
have turned. Ha ha ha! You thought you could be mean.
You're so evil.
I am.
You are evil. I can't imagine losing any of the members of the Rose.
Oh. Oh. Which one's an ice cube? Come on. It's not too soon. We're fine.
I'm thinking, is there any other way out of this scenario I can think of?
Nuh-uh. I mean, you've got to get into the water because the boats have all gone because you've spent that long fannying around waiting out which one you're going to save. So all the lifeboats have gone. You know, I'm already on the Mauritania having a cup of tea. Come on.
I think I've got, okay, so I feel like we can figure this out, the Rose, the five of us together. We've got seriously? 2 life jackets between the 5 of us.
I love how you think that you can be stood with the 4 members of the Rose with 2 life jackets, and between the 5 of you, you can work out how to survive. No.
Somehow I feel like, you know what I feel like, Kelly? I feel like I'm going to be strategizing with the Rose, and we'll look up and realize Ha-Jun's gone. And we'll be like,
just nick the life jacket and be gone.
Where the fuck did Ha-Jun go?
He's in the lifeboat
and then suddenly, he's with you. So I kind of feel like that would happen. So now, if that happens, then it's just me. It's just me,
3 people,
and
3 people, and 1 life jacket. And you
can't. Well, if that happens, Ha-Jun pieces out, and I'm back to my. I can share with somebody.
Well, yeah, I know, but somebody's still going.
Share.
So Hajuni has left with a life
he
jacket.
left us.
With the life
He's
jacket.
safe.
He's
Oh,
just
you say
gone-
he took it.
He's took it. He's gone, oh my God,
Oh.
this is taking too long. I need to get back home to my Bella.
I need to be back with Bella.
There you go. He's gone. He's on the boat with
I
me.
can't
Who
lose
is
my
that?
Bella.
You know, come on. So there's now
now it's
there's 4 of you and 1 life jacket.
So it's me, Tae, Woo-sung, and Do-jun in 1 life jacket. What do we do?
Yeah. And we're on about Victorian. Oh, actually, sorry, let me correct that. Edwardian life jackets. So the life jackets were just basically canvas and then cork that was sewn in between them. So they are not going to be able to hold 4 of you. I can tell you that much now.
Okay, I think we're gonna pull a piece of furniture. We're gonna pull in a piece of furniture from the closest room, and the 4 of us are getting on that piece of furniture.
You know, by this point, the Titanic's like this. You've slipped down the wheelhouse. Your feet are on the wheelhouse, your back's on the
telling you.
deck, and you're still trying to work out who's having this 1 life jacket. By this point, somebody's probably pulled a gun on all 4 of you. Taking the time to think. I should just say all 4 of you are ice cubes.
I can't lose a member of the Rose. I can't be back to zombie apocalypse. Do you know our viewers and listeners started sending me like hate mail on that one? I'm like, dude, I was just kidding that Sammy was the most expendable member of the Rose. It was a joke. So I can't be in this place again where I say I'm going to knock off one of them. I'm going down to the end. I am going to find a way to save those 3 men. With 1
Me and
life
Jimmy are just going to
jacket and a
wave
piece
at
of
you and go,
furniture.
hi! We're nice and warm now. You're going to go and have a brandy
You'll
on the
turn
deck,
to Hajime and be
darling.
like, yeah, you'll be like, hey, you want to join Spectral? Looks like you're out of a job, Hajuni. I got a place in Spectral. We can bring you on.
With us.
You're gonna turn to Hajuni and be like, you fancy doing a podcast? I need a new partner because she's gone down with the other members of the Rose.
See those 4 ice cubes over there? One of those used to be my co-host.
Yeah. I know. No, seriously.
my
I
God.
think
I
I'm going to
cannot-
find a way to save.
I cannot believe you do this with me every single episode. The first time I give you one, you just go, oh my God, what do I do with this? Revenge
This was
is
supposed to
sweet,
be
my
the funny
darling.
one.
This is the funny one.
This
you
was
had to
supposed to be the
realize.
easy one. I'm scared. I'm officially
So
scared.
you should be.
All right. I'm making my own rules.
Go on
I'm
then.
saving all. I'm going to find a way to save them
Okay.
and die trying,
Okay.
which is probably what will happen. And then they'll write a song about me. Oh, and
Who's writing
counting stars, she closed her eyes.
Can I just ask a question though? Who's writing the song about you? Because we've already worked out that 3 of them are ice cubes with you.
One of them probably will survive with the life jacket.
Yeah, so Juni, he's
Somebody
on the
will.
boat with me. We're waiting for our brandy to warm us up.
Ah, Jude. She was counting stars. She closed her eyes. Oh, searching for someone to give her life.
Well, that took a turn that I didn't see coming. Ended up with Anne serenading me. Oh, well.
So do I get to say for you? No, you're already
I'm
on
going down, mate. I'm safe. I'm
you've
not
already
daft.
left, so that's your answer.
I'm not daft. date me for? Come on, have you not already worked out that if I have a zombie plan, I also have a sinking ship plan? I have a plan in place for everything.
You have a plan in place for everything, I'm sure. You're right. You're right.
Of course, exactly.
Yeah.
Chronic
For me-
overthinker, of course.
I'm here going, it'll work out. We'll figure out a way to
Fine.
share one life jacket among 4 adults.
It's fine. Yeah, this piece of cork's gonna keep us all afloat.
Seriously. No, seriously, we can get a big piece of furniture and we'll just go stack. This is what Rose and Jack should have done. I'll just be
Okay,
sandwiched
okay.
between 2 members of the Rose. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So you're sandwiched between 2 members of the
Yeah.
Rose. So where's the third members?
Yeah.
Who have you booted? Who have you
All the way
jacked?
on top.
So literally what you're
I
telling
think
me
Tay's
is
got to be
you've
the
got-
bottom because
Why have you suddenly
the
fallen into
strongest.
this? You know the Lego movie, don't you? You know the bit where he invents the settee bunk bed. I think that's literally what you've just done. You've just found the Lego movie settee bunk bed and just put it out to see. No, it doesn't work like that.
here we go. This is how we're gonna survive. We've
Okay.
got this large piece of furniture or like big plank of wood, a door, right?
Yeah.
Tay's
okay.
gonna be our anchor because he's hefty and he can hold us all. Dojun goes on top of him. I go on top of Dojun, and little Sam's on the top of me. I think it's perfect. And you know what? If I die between Dojun and Sam, that's a good way to die. We might need to cut it there.
You think?
That's it. We might need to cut it there. Oh, they're gonna pull us off. Oh, well, tell us what you thought, listeners. Do you want Kelly to put me in the hot seat more, or should we go back to how it normally is, where I give the would you rather in humor segments? Let us know what you think. And who would you save, listeners and viewers, if you had to only save one member of the Rose on the sinking Titanic? I like my answer, though. Very creative. Please rate our podcast. Tell us what you thought of our One OK Rock deep dive episode. Tell us what you think of their music. We love to hear your feedback. Follow us on social media if you don't already. Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. We are at KRock_cast all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
Join us on Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful Patreon members and followers for all your support. If you join Patreon, you can also have access to exclusive content, virtual hangouts, exclusive live streams with some special guests, and KRockCast merchandise. Email us at krock.cast@gmail.com and check out our website, www.krockcast.com. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.